little bit yesterday during the Scorpio reading, so I decided to cover up a little bit. All right, so Sag, we are looking at a June and a Gemini season in general that has to do with mirroring. We've been talking throughout the signs about this concept of Gemini season being a very clean mirror to how you are and how beneficial it can be to see yourself truly, or to see some aspect of yourself truly. Now for you, you're not really interested in the mirror, to be honest, because you have it all the time. Gemini is right across from you. And for those of you who are Sag rising, it is your house of relationships. So you're pretty accustomed to looking in this mirror. You may, in fact, feel like you can ignore it altogether, but you can't. Your headspace is crowded, confused, and generally, when you feel this way, for some reason, you like to run even faster. You push even harder, perhaps because you think that the speed and the insistence will somehow make up for the fact that you don't know what direction you're going in. This confusion, this pain, this thing that you're trying to run away from, it is very likely caused by something that you regret, something that you wish you had done differently. And you can't help but come back over and over again to this idea that like you're to blame somehow. It keeps you locked in a state of disarray. And we don't want to continue. We don't want a whole month of this in the summer. So what can you do? Well, first of all, you can acknowledge that you're confused, that you've got some stuff on your mind that's not necessarily easy to take care of and requires more than just a quick fix or a few arrows shot in the right direction. The longer healing is not Sag's favorite thing, but nonetheless, it's necessary because whatever has hurt you, it hurt you bad. Someone that you thought was everything turned out to be, well, not even nothing, still everything, just not willing to be, which is worse than being nothing, you know? Very confusing, but also very disappointing. So the thing with Sagittarius is that when you're disappointed, that's when the healing becomes really, really difficult. Because as long as you have something to shoot at, you'll get it out of your system. Disappointment's different. Disappointment isn't you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. Disappointment is, I thought you were better than this. I thought we were better than this. I thought. Did I misjudge this? Like, weren't we heading here? Like, and you want it. Even if you don't know how to say it, even if like it's killing you that you're not getting it, you want it. And you may be or have already pushed the person in question, like, come on, I want this, come on, in your own way, you like really want, even if you're not saying anything to them, the energy is like, I want this. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your partner is on the same page, or even if they are on the same page, it doesn't mean that they're ready, right? They could want to, but not be ready. Or quite honestly, how would you even know if you haven't even told them? This is like happening so internally for you, right? So for some of you, this is someone you want that's already disappointed you and you don't see a future. Or for some of you, you're still in that process of like, maybe if I push a little more, I can, don't push. The thing about always having the Gemini mirror is that we take it for granted. And if you look in it now, what you'll see is someone who is revealing themselves in their actions, in their words, your haste, your anxiety. It's giving you away, which I know you don't like. And it's like pushing you, It's like, come on, don't you want to deal with this? Don't you really want to deal with it? And Sag's natural question is going to be, yeah, how do I deal with it? Do I just work through it? yeah, you could work through it, but you know, you're developing this pattern when it comes to work where you're working so hard for so many days that then you need a day to recover, and then you're losing that day. Like, you're not actually working as hard as you think you are. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot over and over again, because you're like working off of this pain or whatever that you're trying to heal, right? This disappointment. So you might be running in circles a little bit and not getting nearly as much done as you could if you just got some rest, right? But it's hard to rest when your mind is 7 of Cups, 5 of Cups. Like, there's not a lot of mental rest allowed when this is what's swimming around in the brain, right? It's like a mix of like regret and confusion and pain, and there's like this constant like, you should have done something different. If you were smarter, if you had seen this, you know, that kind of thing. And what that always leaves out, what that kind of thinking always leaves out is, you know, this basic concept of fate and what's written for you and what isn't written for you. You know, it can be between your lips and you won't have it if it's not for you. And it could be oceans away, and if it's for you, no one else will ever have it. But when you take on, you know, responsibility for your fate and you say, it's me, I did this. No, you didn't. If it didn't work out, if it hurt too bad, if the person turned out to be a douche, you didn't do that. You didn't do anything wrong by being how you are, which is open, honest, vulnerable, lovable, funny, charismatic, energetic, helpful, reliable. You're a wonderful person. You didn't do anything wrong by being open and honest and loving and available. You may feel like you did something wrong because of the way that's received. But the way you're received has absolutely nothing to do with you. And that's a concept that's really, really difficult for you to understand because you love your own reflection. And so it's hard for you to have compassion for a version of that reflection that isn't super strong. You love yourself and your strength. And everybody loves you in your strength. And perhaps that's why you lean so much into it. You are obviously a very strong person. Sagittarians are actually physically the strongest of us. But to expect to only see, you know, that superhero in the mirror and not leave room for anything else, it's so hard. It's so unfair. It's so unforgiving. It puts so much pressure on you. You know, you've got to be like this fucking Marvel character all the time. You can't, you know, you can't just be like going through it. You have to be like, I'm going through it, but I'm good, you know. And Gemini season's like, no, dog, I don't think you are good. Or, no, I don't think you're good. That's okay. You know, and you find that shit annoying. You're like, shut the fuck up. Like, I am good. And Geminis are like, no, dog, you're not. That's okay. You know, and like, that can go back and forth all season, but you hate that shit. You hate looking in that mirror and seeing anything but that superhero. But, you know, the thing about that vulnerable you, even though we don't get to see it very often, it's like, fuck, man, don't you like miss that person? Don't you want to get to know that person? Don't you want to like talk to that person? Like, all that stuff that you hide, all that stuff that you don't say, all that stuff that you like fucking hide from yourself. You don't even let yourself feel it, let alone let anyone else see it. Aren't you curious what's in there? Because the moon and this Knight of Cups in reverse and this Two of Pentacles is saying, yeah, you're gonna have to take a look. If you do it with a more playful approach, it might be more helpful, it might be easier to swallow, but we're gonna have to look into your motivations because you have this intense energy right now. You want these fucking cups filled. You don't care anymore. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I made the mistakes I made, and now I'm not gonna make them again, and now I want my satisfaction. You know, let's just skip right over the pain. Let's skip right over the hurt, and let's go straight to get me that satisfaction. Let's hit that fucking target right now, you know? Which, again, leaves no room for the injured horse. You're running that horse and it's injured. You're running that horse with a fucking crack in its leg, and it's just letting you do it because that's what it does. That's what that part of you does. Your legs just know how to run, and they don't know how to say, I'm broken. I can't do this right now. You don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do that. There's such a disconnect between like the human part of you and the horse part of you. The horse part of you is just like this fucking work demon. It just works and works and works, and it doesn't matter what it's working at, it's just going to work. That's how it finds its balance. That's how it finds its power. But you're running this horse into the ground, and it needs rest, and it needs like contemplation, and it needs to lean in on someone and just be like, listen, I'm really hurt. I can't believe things went the way they did. I feel betrayed, but I don't even know why. There's this thing also that you do. It's very evident here to me when we look at the cards. I'll show you. It's like I had my eyes open. I knew what I was getting into. And it's like, well, even if you knew what you were getting into, it still doesn't mean that people are allowed to treat you however. It still doesn't mean that you should get hurt. Just because you know what you're getting into doesn't devoid you of being, of being given that respect, or allowed that respect, or deserving of that respect. Like, regardless of the choices you make and who you choose to be around, there is this unspoken contract between most people that we will be civil and we will be somewhat kind and good to each other. And when we break those contracts, the more social of us, the more connected of us are the ones that feel it the most. Geminis are the ones that generally end up like withering those contracts away. So we understand it, but we're on the other end where we're like, fuck all this, like cut it all off, forget everybody. You guys get disappointed because you're like, well, that's just not right. But that's not how that's supposed to go. That's not kind. That's not nice. That's not courteous. That's not good. Gemini's like, well, we've been trying to tell you, people are not courteous. People are not good. People are pieces of shit. And you're like, no. Like, I am the esoteric, evolved, higher version of you, Gemini. Like, I know that people are good. I know that people are kind. I know. And Gemini's like, well, do you see where it got you? Look where we are now. So you have a choice to make. You can become cynical, like we are, like Geminis are, or you can keep your Sagittarius, like beautiful, pure truth telling that you have, in which case you need some rest, in which case you need to give your mind and your body that go ahead to be like, yeah, this hurts. Yeah, I'm bleeding out a little bit. Fuck. That sucks. And most of this, for those of you who don't have some like ongoing like romantic like issue, or like some pain that you're dealing with, some betrayal, it could be work betrayal as well. For those of you who don't have that going on, this manifests in a really interesting way, because you just feel so deeply that like the person that you wish you were with, or the person you want to be with, you're not good enough for. And so it can work on you in so many different ways, but it comes back to this idea of not cutting yourself any slack whatsoever, and just expecting such a level of strength and durability from yourself that's like, oh, it's like kind of monstrous. Like you tell people about the things that have happened to you recently, and then then they see you moving around in the world, and they're like, how are you okay? And you kind of give us like the look and the wink, like, I'm not okay, but I'm okay. But the cards and June and your astrology are like, if you don't get some rest, and if you don't actually acknowledge, it'll take you down. It'll like, then at the end of June you're like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I have no motivation, I have no energy, because you're all bottled up. So how do we get free of this need to push past our pain and run right through the healing? You have to develop a sensitivity, a compassion, a kindness, a softness, a slowness with yourself that I don't think you've ever had to do before. And perhaps this is why you're here. Perhaps this is why events have led us here. So you can finally have a good enough reason, a good enough prompt to get soft with yourself and be like, all right, like I'm a hard ass, but right now I'm real soft. And so I don't blow away with the wind. I'm going to ground myself a little bit, and I'm going to sleep more, and I'm going to heal, and I'm going to get quiet, and I'm going to try my hardest not to let the sun across from me pull me to want to do and want to be and want to grieve something that I'm not, something that maybe I don't even want, something that maybe I'm afraid I can never have. For some of you, that's what's playing on you. You met someone or you like someone and you're like, oh, that person's never going to want me. I'm good. And it's like, where's all this coming from? I'm usually so confident. I'm usually so, so good with this stuff. Why am I so down? It's that same disappointment. It doesn't matter what, which way it reaches you, but it's this like, it's just so hard for your mind to give you the space to just stop running, put the quiver down, put the arrows down, put the bow down. And then what are you if you stop running and you don't have the quiver and you don't have the bow, the bow, and you don't have the arrows and you don't have a target? If you don't have any of those things, what are you? Right? Because Chiron was a Sagittarius, right? And a Saturn. And he never used a bow and arrows. He was a teacher. He was a sage. He taught the great heroes of ancient Greece, right? He had learned to use his mind as that arrow. He had learned that there was nothing out here and that it was all in here. And perhaps that's the journey you're on as well. But first you have to be disillusioned and kind of pushed away by out here and not be so in love with it before you can even go in here. At least we would like to think that that is the reason for our pain instead of just meaningless carnage. Yeah? The point is, you will get where you want to go. You will. But the bad habits and the way that you could pop off in June before we get there, on the way there, in your, desire to get there, it can get pretty brutal. You can end up saying some stuff you can't take back. You can end up getting yourself in a bit of trouble, actually. Because you're aggressive, you're worked up. So find that quiet. I'm actually putting out a guided meditation because I've been realizing like a lot of my friends need it. I'm putting out a guided meditation later this week where it's just me talking to you. Like as if like I'm talking you down from like having like, being sad about something or just not being able to wrap your head around something. But like find that quiet before this chaos in the spirit of forward movement finds you, right? The healing, let me end with this. This healing that you're in the midst of is not linear, and yet you are linear. So you want to make it linear, but it's circuitous and it's going to take a lot of turns and it's probably going to spiral a bunch and you're going to hate that. Because if you try to go straight through a spiral, you're going to run into wall after wall after wall, and you're not going to be able to break them down. There is only a few walls that you are incapable or not strong enough to break down, but the ones in your mind, you don't have any power over. You've got to work around this. You've got to find a way to forgive yourself and love yourself and heal at the same time. The blaming yourself and take responsibility for all of it and trying to heal is just not going to work. It'll just keep dragging you back. And that's even worse, right? Than not, like, look at it that way. That's even worse. Standing still is not so bad. But getting dragged back, you don't want that. We don't want that, right? You're gonna be okay. I love you. Let's look at these cards, huh?